started that on Curtis.
Hey guys, welcome.
How's it going?
Welcome to Testing Normal. This is Curtis.
This is Jordan.
Curtis, Jordan. Testing Normal, episode number 23.
23.
And we have the pleasure,
23 me.
Nay, the honor, nay, the delight of having Mr. Jeremy Andresen on tonight.
Greetings.
Typical to roll the R on that?
Always.
Always.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
How do
standard.
they signify the trill of the R? Like
In Danish?
well, or in Spanish?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
Wait, how would they do the R that? It'd be
I don't know. I think
Andresen.
if it has the swirl. Isn't that it? Like it has a little.
I don't know.
Or two R's
Or two R's.
consecutively makes up
Yeah, I
the
don't know.
roll.
It's
I'm not an expert.
2 R's make it right. So, tonight
Barrel.
we have Jeremy on, and Jeremy has kind of many specialities that we're excited to talk to him about.
Yeah.
But one of those would be he's involved in mental health, and his job involves that field. So we're excited to talk to him about that and some of his views and experiences with that. Also, Jeremy is one of the, in the top 10 of competitive athlete bikers in Oregon. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
probably.
That kind of feels like a stretch. Yeah, just a little bit.
I was gonna say like in the Corvallis area, but I was like, that's probably a stretch too.
How about
like,
in the downtown Corvallis
In
area?
the downtown Corvallis.
I bet if you
Yeah.
moved to Staten or Lions, you'd be in the top 5.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I would say
Yeah.
fairly certain.
For men between the ages of like 38 and 42 who weigh less than 150 pounds.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
That
see,
category
I-
of competitor.
I met a guy one time, and his son he did downhill like boxcar, like racing
Oh, cool. I didn't know that actually existed outside of
here.
No, what was the Little Rascals?
Oh no, it does. We have a course here in Salem, like an actual downhill
At
little
Willamette.
spot. Yeah, it's right by Willamette. Yeah, and But the big deal was like the joke I just made to you is he said, I told my son, I was like, you could go play basketball, you could play football, all that, and you'll probably never get to the top of your field. But if you pick something that almost nobody does, I was like, are we really having this discussion right now? Like, just level the playing field. And he went to nationals.
So, is there actually a skill involved from the individual boxcar, like driver?
I don't know.
Because I mean, in my
You
head,
just
I
go
see
straight.
I
Like,
see
you
it
don't-
being gravity and perhaps the vehicle in which you have well lubricated the
Lubricated,
wheels
no,
or the
yes.
bearings or something.
There's got to be
Good
rules.
bearings.
They're like, what if they're like trying to be sustainable and they're like, you can't use anything that's like fossil fuel derived. Like,
Well,
it has to be like a,
Plant-based lubricants?
plant-based lubricants.
Like
yeah.
aloe.
Yeah.
Aloe my bearings.
Aloe.
So your
That'd be so bad. It's 'cause coconut oil came out and
car will
everyone
never
went
get
so
a sunburn.
fast.
He'll never get
Does,
It would,
coconut-
it would help to be heavier.
does that work for sunburns? Like, can you put coconut oil on and
aloe
not get-
vera for sunburns. is
Oh,
what
yeah. I was
calling
gonna say. I think if you put coconut oil and go outside and use it as sunscreen, you will end up more burned than if you didn't.
it. It would
use
just taste delicious afterwards.
It's true. Yeah.
Cannibalism.
You didn't have like a grilled chicken.
Yeah.
Like,
Well basted.
What is that? An amazing barbecue smell. It's my neighbor. He's sunbathing.
So one of our previous guests that we had on was Sarah Andresen, which is the esposa of
Yes.
Jeremy.
Yes.
And,
yeah, she actually
better
commented
half.
already.
Did you?
I was,
Yeah.
I was going to read it before,
What do you
but
got?
I was like, oh, let's read it live so she can.
We'll do it
she can-
live.
Yeah, we'll do it live.
Do it live.
You guys can look up that quote. She said, "Hi, this is big. I got a Google account just for my husband. I mean, a YouTube account,
Nice.
which is like the same. I
So
mean,
she could
yeah.
watch
yeah.
well, no, why couldn't she watch it without an account?
I think so that she
Just
could
comment.
comment.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She
it's
wants to
a comment.
Yeah,
participate.
that's my
I was
guess.
gonna say
That's big for her too. She's kind of
that is impressive.
super keen on getting registered with everything, so it's good.
She
I
just-
appreciate that.
She
Thanks,
doesn't
Sarah.
get registered and everything.
Not necessarily. I
She's
think
on
she's really
Facebook.
discerning. Yeah, she's discerning.
So she's on everything. If you're on Facebook, you're on everything. Like, let's be real. The
But
whole
maybe
world
it's-
is suing Mark Zuckerberg right now because he's giving away everyone's
Everyone's
information.
You may not be willingly on everything, but
Right.
you have
But
been.
you are on everything.
Yeah, you've been
Yeah.
sold.
The guy's a robot. You watch him like.
There was a
sip
recent
water.
video of him drinking something,
Dude, he
and
looks.
it wasn't water, and it looked very robotic or
He is.
alien.
I think he is a robot.
Was
Actually.
it aloe vera?
Ooh. I hope so.
I feel like I would not subscribe to him being a robot, but maybe like the more likely explanation is probably like a lizard person or something.
He does kind of look like a lizard. Some like a cross between like a lizard and a llama, maybe. We're gonna get,
Llama.
we're gonna get like in trouble. Like you guys were bashing a single person. Like that breaks our terms of service or something.
Oh no, no.
Yeah,
Facebook doesn't own YouTube.
It does say something though, because I have a picture of him in their offices, and behind him is his computer, and it has a piece of tape over the camera.
Does it?
Oh yeah.
Hilarious. I love that.
He knows.
He's watching out.
He knows. He's
He
like,
knows.
I don't want to watch myself.
That would be boring.
So, Jeremy, tell me a little bit about your job, man. What do you do?
Sure. Work in Eugene with an agency down there that helps out youth. We call them youths, but children, young ones between the ages of like 5 and 21, who are in significant mental health need. So help supporting them and their families. Awesome. My job specifically is that of a facilitator, a wraparound facilitator. So I coordinate the care teams that are supporting the family to become more successful.
When he first told me that, I was like, wait, are you joking? Wraparound?
Wraparound?
Like, you got to be really careful with that term.
Right.
Yes, you do.
Has a couple different definitions.
Yeah. Like
an Urban Dictionary.
Right.
Yeah. Don't it doesn't mean that, folks.
So wrapping services
Yeah.
around the youth, novel interventions, things that help them to become better people.
So, like, what are some of the interventions that you guys have found effective for mental health youth that you guys have implemented?
A lot of times it looks pretty simple, and it can be things like helping pay an entrance fee or a sports fee to like become a soccer player, to like go be on a soccer team. And just kind of go help the youth get their yayas out on the soccer pitch.
Yeah.
Something like that. Most of the families that we work with are fairly, if not significantly, low income, and so their access to things in the community that we would sort of typically take for granted just isn't there.
Yeah.
And so something like going and playing soccer or whatever is like, oh yeah, that'd be so great if someone could pay for that, and we could let him get out there and do that and become a part of a team. That would be a super good experience.
So it's similar to, because when we were talking, and people can go back and listen to our episode where we talked to Sarah about those are kids that are in a place, like kept in a home because they're like a significant danger or something.
Sarah's line of work?
Yeah.
Yes, it's a residential facility.
So this is kids who are still at home,
community based. Yep. Yep.
And they're needing some extra care to remain there.
Right.
That's cool.
It's not necessarily a joke, but Sarah and I talk about it when we're visiting with people. Like, I say something like, well, if the team that I'm facilitating is doing a good job and the families become successful and the youth become successful, they don't go to residential.
Right.
Right. And then on the flip side, when a youth is ready to transition out of residential, they oftentimes come into a wraparound facilitated team so that they can then sort of reintegrate into their community more successfully.
That's cool.
So yeah,
Dude, that's really cool.
The long and short of it too is that everyone is, families included, and the professionals are like so busy and crazy that having a facilitator just kind of coordinate this monthly meeting is like, it's pretty simple, to be really honest, but it's also very helpful and very like effective.
Well, you have a different perspective too when you come into that, and so you
would
can
that
see
include
it and
like
things.
like a kid can't like transportation, like the kid like, okay, well, we'll help you pay for soccer practice, but what if they can't get to soccer practice?
Yeah, it can. Yeah, exactly.
So you guys how would you help facilitate transportation for a kid?
Uber. I'm just kidding.
It doesn't always look like shaking the money tree. Oftentimes it looks like us just asking the right people in the community who can participate in an intervention like transportation.
Okay.
So the teams would oftentimes consist of a DHS caseworker.
Right.
That DHS caseworker can oftentimes access volunteer drivers.
Gotcha.
That kind of thing.
Oh, that's cool.
How do you get these children with mental health difficulties referred to you?
Initially, it was 4.5 years ago, when I first started. It was only ever through a mental health agency in Eugene. So a clinician, a therapist, would refer to and have then wrap around. Now, in Lane County anyway, I can't speak to other counties.
Sorry, that name, bro. It's just.
I'm sorry.
I don't know.
It is what it is.
Who named it? Someone who was not paying attention to
Especially
pop
when
culture.
I don't know. Yeah. I digress.
Do we need to go up with a safe word for it?
Yeah,
moving forward.
So
So
anyways, now anyone can refer. So a parent could call our agency's like main line and be like, hey, like my son's really struggling. Like I think I need a facilitator.
So how many kids do you facilitate? Like
our caseloads.
I'm assuming
are,
it's not just you. There would be other case managers.
Yes.
that
So
do that as well.
in Lane County, we have a total of 10 facilitators.
wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how many do each?
15.
15 each.
Yeah, a
Okay.
ceiling of 15. Yep.
Really? So you're maxed out when you
Yep.
have 15.
Yep.
And
Which
how-
is like unheard of for most social workers.
Mhm.
Like a DHS caseworker, they have like 200.
right.
So the fact that we only have 15 is like
It's
really
phenomenal.
cool.
That is-
and it
Well,
allows
if
us
you meet
to be,
once a month, it would be
Right.
every other, like not even including business days, you'd be meeting with someone.
Yes.
Like that would get
So
intense.
is the program? Is it federally funded? Is it state funded? Is it a grant? Is it something that looks like it's going to be only around for a certain period of time until that grant money runs out? Or what's the funding look like for this type of thing?
To the best of my knowledge, it's OHA, Oregon Health Authority, and the OHP, Oregon Health Plan
yeah.
funds are what fund us.
Oh, so then that's looks like that will continue. Then.
It will, yeah.
That's
And the national wraparound initiative was started on the East Coast years and years ago, and it has been slowly rolling out through the whole country, like kind of state by state.
Is this in every county in Oregon, or is it only in Lynn County right now?
It started out in Marion County, I think 10-ish years ago.
And it's always called wraparound.
To my knowledge,
Okay.
yes. To my knowledge.
I'm not saying that
Haley,
to be.
Haley
I'm
commented.
not saying
and
that's a
she-
joke. I'm saying like I'm just curious, like
I know,
thinking of it as a resource.
But every time
Yeah.
we laugh, Haley comments. She says, "I don't get the perv joke." It's okay, babe. I'll show
Yeah,
you. I'll show you later. Like,
He'll explain it later.
I mean, explain.
Oh my god. Okay, so anyways, I feel like very awkward talking about that while we're talking about kids mental health. Like, oh my god.
I'm very clear. That's my wife
Yeah.
commenting.
Yeah. Anywho,
This is testing normal. I figured I'd
testing
just
normal. There we go, guys. Boom.
jump off that.
Boom.
For those of you that understand the joke, you got
Look it
that
up.
joke
Urban
too.
Dictionary.
Don't. Careful.
Yeah. So that seems like a phenomenal program, though, to actually have the resources not only for social workers, but for just like the more access these kids have that have less resources, the better. There's a really cool study that I recently was reading up, and it was a study of almost 15,000 young adults, and it seems like kind of self-explanatory. But they found that young adults who had higher levels of connectedness, so like feeling of engaged, having some type of like support and feeling like they have care for at home and school when they were teenagers, they're 66% less likely to have mental health problems or to experience violence or engage in like significant like harmful substance abuse. So 66% less likely to have those issues when there's some form of connectedness, feeling like you're having someone that cares or feeling that you're a part of something.
Yeah.
So that program sounds like kind of that's exactly it. It almost sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't want to get too far into the weeds of the boring details of it, but one of the 10 operating principles that as a facilitator we're sort of obliged to like uphold within each team. One of them is being community based, so keeping the youth in the community and like engaging in their community, his or her community, like
Feeling like they're part of it.
exactly, like going and finding stuff that they're interested in, like going to the library, soccer team, whatever. That's one of the 10 principles is being community based. Also, we're seeking to have them creating a plan that's individualized to their unique strengths and needs, and keeping their voice and what they choose to do kind of at the center of the conversation, so they're not getting shouted down by a bunch of professionals.
What does that look like when you first meet with someone who has been brought into that? What things do you do to kind of guide you as to like what will help them to feel connected? Because some kid might go to play soccer and get depressed.
Yeah, exactly. Just we meet with them. There's an engagement phase that usually lasts about a month, where we're meeting with them once a week just to kind of get to know them as casually and informally as we can, like in their home or at a coffee shop or whatever. Right. Just getting to know them a little bit, asking them the right questions, that kind of thing.
What's the craziest thing that you've had someone do? Like you said, like soccer. Like what's something that got someone connected in the community that you were like maybe shocked that ended up being it?
That ended up being it. sports is unfortunately a cliche, but a really good example.
Yeah.
One of my
Makes sense.
past clients was interested in running and got plugged into a track program and
Oh,
just
really?
just took off. Like his engagement in life took off.
Was his name Forrest?
It wasn't,
Okay.
but it's a good guess.
That would have been really cool.
But in terms of what he was overcoming from his past experiences and stuff,
Yeah.
just becoming more connected to and more comfortable with his body
Yeah.
through something as simple as running, really worked, and it was really cool how again novel intervention.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
It's
didn't
funny
take tons of
that
money.
like most things that you've mentioned they're physical too, which would be so much that kids a lot of times these days don't get or aren't encouraged to do, and would encourage that movement, which then we know releases all these different hormones and stuff that helps with joy and happiness and all that. That's cool.
Yeah.
And it's really practical. Like you're getting plugged in, making friends, and feeling like you're a part of something.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
cool.
Exactly. I'm trying to think of other things. I mean, there's within the school setting, we try to get them plugged into like music or theater. There's those extracurriculars that we always think about and
Right.
sometimes sort of pan off as being boring.
Right.
are like usually it's pretty novel that we're asking, hey, do you want to do something like this? Would you be interested in trying this?
Yeah.
So who decides whether the kid qualifies to be a part of one of these programs?
Again, speaking to Lane County, there's a committee that like receives the referrals and kind of like weeds through them. A wraparound youth, one who's like ready to be a part of that program, would have multiple system engagement, so they sort of already have these other critical people as a part of their lives, like a DHS caseworker, mental health therapist, psychiatrist, maybe like an IEP within the special education world. So they have at least 2 other systems involved, to then sort of need to have this facilitator come in and like start.
So you're like kind
things.
of okay. So do they have to meet a certain financial need, or
they have to be OHP? They have to be on.
Oh,
OHP.
they have to be on OHP.
okay.
So you
It
wouldn't
is
accept private insurance for
correct.
this.
Correct.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like that's a little bit of a disservice to. That's a little almost. I don't know. Not. What would you call that?
Well, there's
Financialism.
yeah. Reverse it to reverse discriminate. Yeah.
Reverse
Yeah.
financial biased. I mean that.
Yeah, I could see it going a bunch of different ways. Like maybe they figure somebody who's more affluent would be able to go to a counselor or something like and have suggestions.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I agree. I'm just saying maybe that's. Yeah.
There are families that we've worked with who have had to stop because dad got a job.
Oh.
It's on private insurance. No more
Yeah,
OHP.
that's sketchy.
They're then financially
I don't like that, dude.
disqualified.
Because then that shows them that they are only of value because of their. I mean, they wouldn't know this specifically, but
Right.
potentially it shows society that they are only of value because they only meet this specific financial need, and that seems like a kind of a pretty, I don't know, negative precedence to set.
I could see it both ways because our current system, I mean, we could all probably agree is not perfect, if not like fully broken, and because we're not all in the same system of healthcare, we're having the ability or not the ability to get private healthcare.
Right.
They're looking at people that wouldn't have those abilities to do things. So if it was all of a sudden flooded with these kids that have those abilities, it would be hard. But I would agree with you. I think it should be something that would be part of a larger system, or one that's made available for people that have private insurance. Or something similar. Scott Sincresti commented. He's someone who's commented before. I've invited him multiple times, but he's up in Washington.
Where you at,
to come on the
Scott?
show.
Where you at, Scotty?
And because he's pretty open about mental health stuff on Facebook, and I've wanted to just chat with him and pick his brain here, and I think it would be awesome if he ever got down here. Funny enough, I don't think we've ever met in person. Maybe we did one time. I think maybe I picked up a couch at his house.
Classic couch pickup.
If I'm thinking of the right time,
Was it this
you
one?
were really into World of Warcraft at the time, Scott. If not, then it was somebody else. He said, "Okay, what did I miss? Start over." And then he said, then he answered the question. Wraparound does not equal reach around, by the way. Smiley face.
Nice.
Good.
Thanks for the clarifying.
I think it depends on where
good
you're from,
clarification.
because I think certain parts of the country, like you call some soda, you call another place pop. So I think that
Yeah.
I think that there's
I think someone's
terminolo-
showing their expertise in this area.
I think
Like,
that I just think that there's different ways of saying the same thing, and in some places they may call one thing.
I think for me,
potato.
It just is like that's the first thing that I kind of thought of. I was like, oh, what is that?
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's hilarious.
But
I do like your point, Scott.
Yeah.
I do like that. Yeah, it kind of goes. I have kind of just a bunch of different studies that I saw about mental health in kids and teenagers, and it's kind of self-explanatory, and it seems like basics. But there was another really cool study that was much smaller. It only had like close to 300 people or something like that. But it showed that teenagers who can like describe their emotions in a more precise and nuanced way had a significant advantage over other teenagers from avoiding depression. So like instead of saying I feel bad, being able to say I feel ashamed or I feel hurt. Like those things, those specific nuanced connected emotions were significant. So I think that's an interesting topic to go into, like explaining emotional intelligence at a younger age is something that I think has a huge advantage for people as they get older. Something that is interesting because as a society as a whole, I think we're growing in the way of like thinking about in the 80s and 90s, like the man's man typical idea was you don't talk about your emotions.
Right.
And you kind of store it and you try to be tough. And that kind of stunted our ability to understand emotional nuances.
Yeah.
At least for myself, I know, like, and that caused a bunch of drama throughout my life, I think, until literally like the past, 4 years where I started to like understand more about my
and like once a week he comes over
nuance.
And he just cries.
Yeah. Like I literally once a week I just
box.
go. Poor Jordan. I mean, he's just like his shoulder is just like he's got like basically like a yeast infection on his shoulder because it's so wet all the time.
Yeah. I actually I changed my shirt like
just
before he shows up.
Yeah.
And wear like a thick sweater.
Yeah.
I think more so like to be specific, like it's not don't show your emotion. It's don't show the weak side of emotion. Like because anger definitely wasn't something that was taught. And again, we're speaking in generalities here, but like for men, like don't show like crying, like don't show like that you have been like affected by something. But when it comes to anger,
that's a good point.
Have at it, like, and that's not good either. Like there should be a balance. Something that Scott he is talking all over here. Look at gross.
Back to the
what is she saying? Gross to
the yeast, probably the yeast.
Oh yeah. That's
shoulder yeast.
Yeah, sorry, I already forgot about that.
Shoulder yeast is a tough one.
Scott says he did miss the beginning, so I'm bringing up something that maybe is not quite on topic, but he's involved in discussions on what should be taught in high school. It's WRT. I'm just assuming that means with regards to mental health.
Okay.
So what are you guys' thoughts on that? What do you think should be taught in high school? He's saying, what do you think should be taught in high school?
I think emotional...
Part of health class.
I think emotional health.
Yeah.
I think not only emotional health, well, I guess emotional intelligence, but self-awareness. So there's a kind of we've talked about this. We brought this up a couple times on our podcast, and it's annoying to some people. And
what are you about to say?
No.
So many things.
So there's this kind of trend going on right now of the enneagrams, which is like you get assigned and there's these 9 specific numbers, and some of them have subtypes, and they kind of help you understand why you feel the way you feel and why you respond to certain things. And I think having like in high school or middle school some type of class to help you kind of identify and not say this is who you always will be, and maybe not in high school, maybe like towards the end of high school might be the better time, because you're still forming throughout time, throughout life. But understanding who you are puts you at a huge advantage to understand why you respond the way you do and help you understand what you need in life.
Yeah. One of the things that it kind of goes without saying, but for this conversation, it's important to bring up is it is so clear to me every day how much there is a sort of this trickle down or generational issue within mental health. So as far as like the moms and the dads and then the grandparents and whatever, like things that happened to them in their past and in their lives that have deeply impacted how they parent.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
You know, and we all, as you know, dads now, can see how our parents were really awesome in some ways and kind of came up short in other ways. And
they're human.
They're human, exactly.
And as we will, right?
Right.
No matter what, there's no way that we won't come short in certain ways with our kids.
Exactly.
And they'll think about, this is where my parent came up short.
Right.
It's unavoidable no matter what.
Right.
It's a kind of
and so for me, working with these families, it's like there's just so much generational stuff going on. And I'm not trying to pass judgment on them, but that's just what I see.
Yeah.
You know, and trying to, again, break that cycle.
I think it's kind of the human condition.
Yeah.
Is
I mean, I liked what you said earlier as far as like the community based, like the connectedness, and the more we can help them to get connected within their communities, the better they'll do, because it really does take a village.
yeah.
And the more these youth are able to like establish like positive pro-social interactions with other adults and other peers, you know, the better and better they do. But there's the barrier exists of trust because they've been hurt so much in their lives, and it's not.
That's hard to get past.
It's super hard to get past. And
it's heavy.
The other thing that's really, really clear is that these folks are working with it's not just like a miswired brain. Like the physiology of the brain isn't necessarily broken. It's experientially they've had they've had a lot of brokenness going on, and trying to help them overcome that. So yeah.
Ooh.
It's sad thinking about kids, man. Like that's the one kind of universal empathy connector for people. Like when they feel like a kid has had a disadvantage, you can't argue that.
Right.
Like you can't say, oh, a kid needs to just be
my job got a lot harder when we had our first kid, you know, because it all of a sudden started hitting home, like, oh my,
you're like, oh
wow, like
you see it through different eyes.
Yeah, which is good though. I think it made me better at my job.
Yeah.
But it also kind of slowed me down a little bit.
That changes a lot of your thinking in life, though.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish it affected more of how I go about my day to day.
Kind of the opposite end of the spectrum, though, like in terms of emotional awareness. I think it is interesting. So we had this kind of is like a pendulum, I guess, in some respects of we saw this move away from being connected to your emotions to this swing in some circles of hyper emotional kind of the term snowflake, the term of kind of like a
decisions by feeling versus fact.
Yeah, decisions by feeling.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is kind of heavily implemented in social media circles and like arguments in particular.
Yeah.
And so that is kind of, I feel like, the side effect of, maybe not the side effect, but maybe just the lack of education towards understanding emotions and understanding how they affect you and how they should affect the people around you.
Right.
Because there has been a push of men being more in contact with their emotions, and women too, and being more just sensitive to those. So I feel like that's why there would be a significant benefit in middle school or high school to like say, this is a class where we're going to try to explain why do we feel these things the way we feel. Because I don't think when I was in high school we had anything like that.
I think the difference though is dealing with those, because right now we're seeing people, they're like, yeah, I'm going to be in touch with my feelings, but then they think that, but then they say, you'll say something like, you'll hear it and it's in people's vernacular and they mean it, but they don't really know that they mean it. It was like, you made me mad. We're like, no, I didn't. Like, I didn't make you anything. That's the emotion that you're feeling right now, and maybe something I did assisted in that. But yeah, a
lot of the stuff, the work that we are trying to do also is help them move from victim mode, victim mentality.
Ooh, yeah, totally.
Constantly being re-victimized to survivor. And we even use those words like, you know, we want you to move to be a survivor, and so you have like the story and this amazing sort of sad but powerful heritage of abuse or whatever, and neglect. But we want you to become a survivor of it, so that it informs how you make future decisions, and you're not trapped by it.
So I like that.
I think we're all, to a certain degree, we all allow ourselves a certain degree to be victims of our negative experiences, and we all owe it to ourselves and to our families to like become survivors. To move on.
Scott had commented too. He said, "Let's be clear," and this is generally speaking, and then I'm just quoting him too. Men would rather commit suicide than experience the shame of saying that they're struggling.
Well,
Wow.
that's interesting. I think some men,
I think some,
obviously,
yeah.
but there is statistics showing suicide rates are much higher in the United States, and I think maybe worldwide. I'll have to look this up. With men, there are more men that commit suicide than
Well, I think that
other genders.
I think it came up in, with
But
one of
maybe
the
that is
presidential
because they don't
candidates.
have as much of an emotional intelligence or maturity.
Or there's shame there, and we saw that. We've seen that like in other cultures. Like I know that like in Japan they saw a rise of that when there's shame rather than like being ashamed to the family, and there would be,
Loss of face.
yeah.
Yeah. Wah, wah.
Well, yeah, it deserves discussion though.
Have you ever thought about a conversation I had with a friend of mine a while back that didn't really go super far, but it planted a seed in my mind to think about like just the historicity of like modern psychology, and taking from like 1945 until 2019, and how, and if you want to just talk about men, doesn't matter, but how people have been trained to deal with negative things. PTSD wasn't a thing in World War II. It was called shell shock.
Right.
You were pulled from the line for a couple of weeks and then put back up.
Right.
And they weren't given modern psychological tools to like deal with that stress.
Right.
They just drank more, smoked more, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, what do you like? They don't even know now what to do with. I mean, they have
Right.
these amount of people that have come out of some of these wars that we've been in that, whether you agree with them or not, people had to go through them.
Right.
And we don't our brains don't know how to handle that.
yeah, have you got the Louis Zamperini, the Unbroken?
The movie?
It was a movie.
Yeah.
It was a really good book.
Captured
Or
by
Hilary Brandt wrote it.
POW, right?
Yeah.
But he was also survivor, like in the ocean for like 30 days
Yeah,
or something
forever.
Like that?
Yeah. He survived a whole lot of life before landing
Yeah.
where he did. But he struggled with alcoholism and that kind of thing. He had a spiritual conversion at one point through the Billy Graham Crusade, and that kind of saved his life, arguably. But he's a really interesting case study of how people dealt with negative and traumatic stress.
Yeah.
From World War II, and then how now we're sort of being not forced, but now we're in a place where it's encouraged to talk about it, talk it out, to gain these emotional intelligent tools.
Yeah.
But are we seeing, I guess, looking at it outcome or objectively, are we seeing a greater success, like a lower suicide rate now? Or
is it working?
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah, I
that's
don't know. I don't know if I've seen any studies or anything.
I would
whether or
love
not
to.
it is.
Yeah. And when I retire, it'd be I would love to like look back and see.
And see like kind of the line of that.
Yeah. The trajectory of it, how it worked or didn't. So.
It's a grand experiment.
It's a grand experiment.
Like, I mean, a lot of the stuff, it's like, what do we do with this? Like, this might work, but you don't know, and and like, millions of people are doing this. What if we get it wrong? Like, that's a daunting question. But then again, like, you don't do nothing. But if you don't know the exact answer, and maybe the exact answer isn't one.
Do you guys think that social media? What effect do you think social media, as a net, has had on connectedness? Do you think it as a whole has fostered more connectedness, or do you think it has caused a false kind of a false area of connection, that even though you really are having a conversation, you're not really improving quality of life?
What do you think, Jeremy?
I personally think it's more negative than positive.
Okay, go on. Why? Go on.
Because it's there are so many more sort of fake connections with people that where we don't have actual relationship, like face-to-face talking time, and there's so many more opportunities for us to feel like we're inadequate.
Yeah.
Because of how much data we're receiving about other people's lives.
Yeah.
That may not even be true.
Right. And the facade that we all are prone to create of like success when it comes to social media.
Dude, going on to social media subject.
Oh gosh.
Jordan and I have an announcement to make here, guys.
I know what you're doing here.
Yeah, you saw that segue?
This is awesome.
That was actually like a pretty damn good segue.
That was a really good segue.
Yeah, it was.
Right?
I liked it.
So Jordan and I have decided that we are going to do the social media. So we know for sure we're doing Facebook and Instagram abstinence for the next at least week. So then we can report to you guys next week. And maybe I kind of feel like 1 week might not be good enough. I kind of feel like we should do a 2 week buffer. But
what if we get to next Sunday and we decide?
Okay, we'll decide next Sunday.
To
So we're going
to go on or to stop.
continue. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's kind of like we've
So we
been
started,
talking
like,
about doing
right
these
now?
challenges. Yeah. I mean, after tonight, after we, upload everything and
everything.
stuff.
Oh yeah.
But
well,
we'll,
that's just to YouTube. Like,
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
true.
even need to get on Facebook.
So we're gonna hold off on any Facebook, Instagram. I would like
I will say the one thing that
for
I
challenge wise
that I will probably have to post will be next week's.
yeah, which is
picture and
totally
stuff.
okay.
Yeah.
So we'll do like the testing normal, like uploading stuff, but otherwise
There's-
we'll hold off on
For me,
other
that's
things.
one a week, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, question is, should we do anything else? Should we do like
As many push-ups as you
YouTube?
can do in a day.
No. I mean, as far as technology, like holding off. I mean, the hard parts for me, like just being honest, like I love at the end of the night, if we don't have anything else going on, pulling up a Netflix series and being able to watch it or something like that. Like, should we do just specifically phone, social media? Is that hard enough for us, I guess, is the question.
Oh, I think so. It'll be. I think it's a good experiment.
Yeah. Let's
'Cause-
just start
'cause
with those two
I'll just
and see how it goes.
uninstall the
Why
apps.
don't you guys pull?
Yeah.
Why don't you guys pull your audience? Like,
And
if
see.
you swear off Facebook and Instagram,
Then
you-
our wives are gonna say, "Ooh, this is what we want them to really go off of."
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, which actually, there's a, I can't remember who it was. that
Right
I
now
heard
with
this
this whole
quote
house
from.
thing, though, it's
I know,
It's like, I don't
right.
even want to be on anything.
But there's this cool quote was talking about, maybe it was like Nietzsche, is that who it was? Nietzsche, the ancient, not ancient, but the Asian.
Was he on Facebook?
Historic
let's just say
philosopher.
Let's say Nietzsche.
Yeah, that's good.
Nietzsche.
I'm sure he said it.
And he was talking to, one of the things he was bringing up was if it goes against your grain, then it's good. It's going to basically have a positive effect. So the idea of doing something that you feel like grinds me is in the long term going to have a net positive effect. I don't know if social media has enough of a negative effect on me.
But maybe you don't. Maybe we just do those two, and see.
And then next week we can ramp it up if we need to.
We'll just see how it goes, because
Yeah.
maybe we don't know. Like, if you looked, I bet you'd be shocked. Like, if you looked at your phone to see how many times you pulled up Instagram,
Yeah.
and you can tell.
Yeah. So if you guys want to do this with us, you can, and then let us know how it feels. But we're doing it this week.
I think.
Boom.
I think it'd be fun for you guys too to pull your kids afterwards. Like, was Dad less involved with his phone?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Sarah is wonderful for me as far as like, put your phone down in a good way. And I really appreciate that. And it's alarming how often I am glued into my phone in front of my kids.
Yeah.
So even that, I mean, it'd be kind of cool to
Totally.
see how they're impacted by it positively.
Seems like in my head it seems like not that big of a challenge, but I'm also like, maybe it is a bigger challenge than I even realized.
Just for some scale here for a second. Remember when we went into January, we thought this won't be that hard.
Yeah, we don't want to get crushed, destroyed like we did.
I would say we both have a little bit of PTSD.
I was going to
to
say
challenges
100 PTSD, yeah.
to
100%.
things. Yeah.
Okay, cool, dope. Let's do it.
All right.
I'm excited. That's gonna be fun. Jeremy, I want to talk about your biking a little bit. Your hobby / are you in competitions or?
I haven't in a good long time. I used to race mountain bikes.
Mountain bike.
nice.
Okay,
Yeah.
like downhill or
Cross country
okay.
was the specific discipline, which is up and down.
Up and down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did
So-
you know what movie the picture was from when I sent it
Oh
to
yeah,
you?
totally.
Okay.
I didn't.
I figured.
What's
you
it
did.
from?
Breaking Away.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Bloomington, Indiana.
Is it a good movie?
It's a great movie.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It is actually a really good movie.
Great movie.
I think I've
So
seen
like,
it a few
was
times.
your typical mountain bike like? Are you like kind of going top of the line, like Huffy kind of stuff, or like red line? Is that kind of like the top of
Mongoose?
the line? Mongoose, preferably.
Um,
What are you riding, man?
do I have permission to nerd out on
Yeah,
please
actual
do.
terminology?
Shimano
Jeremy,
clipless? Those are. I'm at the end of all the terms I know.
friends don't let friends ride Huffy.
Yeah.
Huffy's isn't a brand I would probably purchase at this point in my life.
Fancy.
They tried for a while.
My
to kind of come up with a good line.
my brand of choice is Specialized.
Okay.
Okay.
I really enjoy their bikes.
I didn't know they made bikes.
They fit me well.
You didn't?
Well, maybe I did. Specialized, I feel like they're more,
Specialized?
like
That's-
more, I don't know. Anyways. So you Specialized is your
They
My
totally
favorite.
started in
Yep.
making bikes, right? Not just
They
components.
Specialized has only ever made bikes. That
Okay.
I thought
know.
I thought it was like a component, like a,
You're probably thinking of Shimano,
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is like that makes the
that's what I'm
the
thinking
derailleurs
of.
and the brakes and
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm
the
thinking of.
little bits.
Yeah.
not the big bits.
The ones that cost a lot of money but are really tiny.
Yeah. Well, and Shimano, I didn't know this for years, but Shimano actually makes fishing gear, like rods and
I
reels.
did know that.
So
I
they make
saw,
bike components.
I saw
and
their
fishing.
name on a reel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
So how, when you do these, because I'm assuming you go for long rides, there was a interesting study that I saw.
What's your yearly goals and mileage?
3,000.
What?
50 miles a week.
50 miles a week.
That's the goal. I hit it most of the time.
Wait, where are you riding?
Right now, being a busy dad and working Eugene, most of my riding right now consists of driving to North Eugene, parking my car, hopping on my bike, and then riding into the office. Typically, it's about a 16-mile round trip on a day, which then usually gets me to about 50 miles in the week, depending on how many days I can do.
How long would it take you to ride from your house to your work?
Never tried it. Probably 2.5 hours.
Yeah, that'd be a tough one.
That'd be a tough one.
That would be tough.
Like 3 a.m.
Especially with work.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be home, like leaving at 3 a.m. I'll be home at 8 p.m. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
That wouldn't fly.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about getting one of those bikes that you can add an electric motor to the crank or whatever it is?
Those electric bikes are like coming in vogue real big right now because the componentry is getting lighter, less expensive.
Right. Yeah.
They've integrated the motors and the batteries kind of into the actual tubing of the bike instead of like a weird package on the outside somewhere.
Yeah, it's not like a giant motor on the side.
So they ride like an actual bike. They don't ride like a weird, awkward motorcycle.
And they're assisted too. Like you ride and then
you still pedal and it gives you a boost. Yeah. I've been on them for fun, like borrowed one kind of a thing. I've never actually.
My dad has one.
Oh really?
It's dope. Super fun.
To be super honest, I'm pretty snobby about stuff like that. I don't like. I want to ride my own bike. Like,
Okay, let's talk about fixed gears for a second here.
Sure.
Let me just switch gears here.
Fixies.
Jordan,
switch gears to a
right?
no gear bike.
Let's switch gears
It's
got
gears. Just
one
two
gear.
of them.
No, one.
Well,
How would you have two?
I mean, there's a gear
Reverse,
on
I
the front
guess.
and there's a gear on the back.
Right. You're talking about the actual like cogs.
Yeah. As far as like the ratio of gears, there's one.
1 to 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, why do you think it became a trend to have a fixed gear? Like, where do you think? Do you know where that came from?
Bike messengers.
Bike messengers.
Yeah.
Okay.
New York, Chicago, San Francisco.
How did that? Like, why was that advantageous for bike messengers to have a fixed gear?
Low maintenance.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
All right. Jordan and I were like talking about this the other day. We're like, why? Why would that even ever become a thing?
You just have one less thing to lubricate. No more aloe.
No more lubrication.
Mm-hmm. The bike I use in Eugene is a single speed bike for that same reason.
So
Eugene,
is that fixed gear?
It's not fixed. It's a freewheel. One gear, but it's a freewheel.
So how would fixed gear though be better than a freewheel?
because they don't have brakes.
No, I mean you don't either with a free gear.
I can't answer that one definitively. I don't know why. Because
they usually is though because they don't have brakes.
Yeah.
And they like narrow the bars, and when they actually do brake, they actually lock their knee.
Yeah,
and
which
will skid. Which
by the way, I've tried that and it's horrifying and it hurts a lot and it's not
I can't
smart
do it.
And
like there's
On fixed gears, is that what you're saying?
yeah
because you can't stop pedaling.
Right. So they put their knees in together.
They just lock their back leg down and it locks the tire up.
Oh,
Yeah.
that seems like a good way to blow your knee out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
There's a lot of accidents in Portland.
I will if you're into it. I have a DVD called MASH and I don't know what it stands for. But it's like a documentary about fixed gear riding.
Oh, interesting. So. Yeah, I might be. I'm curious. I mean, I see the advantage of less maintenance. Totally, 100% get that. But I don't see any other practical use for fixed gear outside of that. I just don't see.
I went on a bike trip and a guy had an automatically shifting bike.
Nice.
We called it the auto bike. It was not nice.
No.
Why?
It was horrible.
Why?
Like it just made things way more complicated than they need to be, and it had like these centrifugal weights that it was like heavy, and they would like move out and shift the gears as you went. It was just like this is such a bad idea. Like
just so you don't have to like reach down and shift.
Yeah, just like I don't want to be like a peasant and have to shift my own gear over here. Like
it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Sarah,
it was not quick.
Your esposa says that you're way too snobby for an electric bike.
It's true.
She was confirming that.
She would.
Where I've seen
back
them
me up.
that people have used them like actually is a good I think a good use is hunters will put the electric hub in the front, and they'll use it on their mountain bike to pull them up the hill because a lot of times you can't drive a car past a gate or something like that. They can ride a bike.
Yeah.
And so to get their heavy gear and stuff up, and then they can coast back.
Dude,
down.
I'm not even kidding. My dad has an electric motor that he put on the bottom main frame shaft.
Down tube.
Yeah, the down tube. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
And
down shaft.
The down shaft.
Nice. Yeah.
Anywho,
Down
it's on his
shaft
mountain bike.
wraparound.
And this is like, I'm not even kidding. It made it so fun to go mountain biking with this bike.
Oh,
because the effort to go up a hill is just all you have to do is turn the crank, and
that's what you have to do with that one
effortlessly,
too.
with like no effort.
No effort.
No
wattage.
effort though.
Yeah.
And you're going like 20 miles per hour.
That's awesome.
It's like, this is phenomenal.
Yeah.
This is so fun.
Do you know that most state forests, so the places you can mountain bike in Oregon, that type of bike is actually illegal technically?
Really?
Yeah.
Because of electricity?
It's just it's considered a motorized vehicle.
Yeah, I could see that.
There are some where it's totally fine. Like I think Black Rock and Alcee Falls, I think it's fine. Those are two kind of local, good places to mountain bike. But like the forest next to Corvallis, the Mac Forest, which Oregon State controls, those bikes are actually illegal in the forest.
Really?
Not that people are out there patrolling for it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know? Not that you can wait.
Some guy jumps up from behind a tree.
Yeah.
It's like,
Gotcha.
Well, good luck catching
Electric
him.
bike.
Yeah.
He's an electric
It's true.
bike cop.
He'll be on a motorbike himself trying to catch you. But
Yeah.
It's true.
I heard that you had a new idea for a new sport, some type of.
is that Sarah?
Oh yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
Shout out to Sarah for bringing it up.
Yeah.
It was in the back of my mind.
Biathlon, maybe something.
Yeah. So
what's
I
that
think
look like?
so. Going to Jordan's reference to hunters using bikes.
Yeah.
I think it'd be pretty badass to have a biathlon, like a summertime biathlon.
Ride a bike, shoot a gun.
Yeah. Only
Wait, actually, is that what you were thinking? Shooting a gun?
no, but I want bow and arrow.
Oh. And you have to carry it.
Yeah. So
now, are you thinking
so
compound or recurve?
Recurve.
I don't know enough about bows and arrows. I'm sorry.
So compound.
Sorry.
But you
Yeah.
want to shoot arrows?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll get into the sport. I'll
course I
figure it
want to.
out.
I mean, I'll figure
I'm
that
a
out.
smart guy.
What if
I'll
you end up not liking?
I think
shooting
even
bows?
cooler
My
would
arms
be
hurt.
mountain biking and tomahawk throwing.
Oh yes.
And you have to like carry it. Like
So yeah, so this goes into several things for Sarah and I, like the whole zombie
Kinda like
apocalypse, like being prepared.
Yeah.
You know. The winter sport of biathlon is awesome. Like those men and women are in such good shape, and they can shoot a
They're
gun
kind of
so
like us.
accurately. Yeah, they're amazing. So to be able to do that in the summertime would be so awesome.
I think it'd be-
ride a bike on these crazy hard courses, way uphill, like super hard, your heart's pounding.
Well, let's do
downhill, whatever.
Yeah.
Jump off, and then like you're going for wild game, like with a
Hashtag activator.
bow and arrow.
you're like, let's do it right now.
Done.
Let's leave.
All right, let's make it.
Can we just bring the whole studio with us?
I have a bike. I have a hatchet.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure we can make this happen.
Do you
Give me
have
about 24 hours and we'll get this going.
It is as speaking as someone who has shot when your heart is racing like that.
Yeah.
It is astronomically more difficult to shoot accurately
I can only.
when you're.
I wonder,
Yeah.
to be honest though, I have a feeling that there's probably already some type of event out there like this. I mean, it would be hard for me to think out of 350 million people in the U.S. there's not something like that.
I've Googled it
yeah.
before, probably once, and I did find something, but it didn't have a name. It wasn't like any kind of like enticing name, and there wasn't a league.
Like
Yeah.
Spartan race.
Right.
or-
It wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't anything like that. But there are people who do that. Essentially like dryland.
Ooh, I have a
shooting.
name for it already.
What is it?
Bicathlon.
Bicathlon. I like it.
Bicathlon.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, they use like air rifles now, don't they? When they do the skiing. I think it's air rifles.
Not 22s?
No,
They-
it's
22
pellet.
caliber.
I think it's pellet.
Oh.
I think it's 22 caliber air rifles
rifle.
though.
I
Yeah.
think it's-
it might be
I thought it was
it might be
pellet.
different leagues, but it's impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, they go a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's interesting. I that actually kind of is an exciting thought to me because I like mountain biking
Yeah.
and
You
I like
shooting stuff.
shooting stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, that actually could be really fun. I think even if it was like the typical pellet gun, that was whatever.
We should try this.
Because
This could be your third challenge.
here's why I don't.
I think we should try this. I have a BB gun.
Here's why I think
I have
hatchets
many
might
guns
not
we
be the
can try
best
this.
idea. Here's why. I'm pretty sure it's not. Because if you're on a course and you're all running
Mm-hmm.
and you're throwing a hatchet, and say you get to the same, you all get to the station at the same time.
Yeah.
You're throwing a hatchet. You don't get your target. You can't run out to the target while other people are throwing their hatchets to get that.
True.
So I think if you're staying behind a barrier, shooting at a target, that is actually probably a more practical and realistic
I think we
event.
Method.
I really think we should try this.
Bow and arrow, I think, could be an option, but I think it would be pretty tough. You'd have to have a really good attachment system either on your bike or on your back to
That's true.
mountain bike with a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
Crossbow could work.
They do have bow mounts because, like I said, hunters do use mountain bikes.
Yeah.
So they just put them on the
Yeah.
bars.
That's true.
Is it on the hand? I don't know anything about it, so I'm.
I believe
pure
that's how
ignorance.
they do
Up on the
it.
handlebar somewhere,
Yeah.
I would imagine. It's just in
Yeah.
front of you, and
But I mean, that sounds like a really fun event, though.
It does sound really fun.
Neither
one of those things am I good at, but I would totally go out like tomorrow and do it. Like,
I think for your third challenge, we should like make a course.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Ooh,
that actually sounds pretty fun.
it does.
I think you should also rope in the Pinch brothers.
But they win.
They would win, but
no,
it would.
I would smoke them.
Oh, okay.
I'd smoke them. Maybe that. Obviously, in the shooting, they would probably surpass me.
Probably,
but I
yeah.
feel like there would be
Circles around.
competition. And
Although-
neither of them mountain bike very much.
Yeah.
I don't know.
was
Joe
gonna say,
probably
maybe
does.
cardiovascular we'd have them.
Joe would probably be good at the mountain bike and stuff. I don't think John bikes that much.
And to be clear, like I would want to set the course up just like a biathlon. So for every shot you miss, you take an extra lap, right? That whole thing. So like
Oh.
you get penalized for being a bad shot, or you can be slow as dirt but be a really good shot and win the race. You know, that kind of thing. So that's just like a biathlon. You miss a shot, you take an extra lap.
I hear this is terrible because I already
Oh,
feel like
man.
my competitive side being aggressive. I like how I just I said a couple minutes ago, nah, I'd smoke them. I already I don't even have rules. We don't even know what things set up. I'm already assuming that.
Don't
no,
even
I'm gonna
know what would win
Yeah,
you.
and I'm already no, just naturally. Yeah, no, I'd smoke them. That'd be hilarious.
I want to do this. How long would the lap be? Do you have that thought out?
Well, we need a course. We need to figure out someone that
Yeah,
has the land.
It'd be a
Ooh,
it'd
we
be a
can
circuit.
figure that out.
And here's the other thing:
It's done.
you have to be really super conscious of the course because you're shooting. So when there's people riding bikes around this course, you'd have to make sure that there's no way where you're shooting.
Yeah. You'd be
is
shooting into a
aimed at
berm,
people
right?
riding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be like an out and back. So you go out
That's
and then come back to the range, out and back
Yeah,
to the range.
yeah.
But it'd have to be a wide enough trail.
John, if you're listening,
It'd have to be a wide enough trail.
you need to confirm
Yeah.
whether or not this would work.
On your property.
Yeah, on your property.
Hmm.
I think this could work.
I think the
Between his
penalty lap.
hazelnut trees.
I think the penalty lap should be at least 200 yards. It's like something.
Dude, have you
Something-
seen the hill on his property?
Yeah.
All you do is go down to the bottom and have to ride back up it, and you're
Oh.
toast.
You're done. Yeah.
Yeah, that could be actually a fun challenge though.
Yeah.
I like this idea.
I need to figure out what a bow and arrow is first. The compound or retread.
Recurve.
Oh,
Yeah.
recurve, yeah.
Recurve just doesn't have any assisted. Like the compound's like when you see
Yeah.
the cables pull out and it
And it gets easy.
and it locks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a ton of people around here that are big into
oh yeah.
arrow shooting.
Arrow-
Arrow shooting.
Is that
Bow
the
hunting,
is
I
it technical
guess.
term? Throwing arrows.
Throwing.
I think that's what it is.
I think it's hurling arrow shooters.
Yeah, I think so.
That's what it's.
I think we're
technically
right.
called. I think we're definitely
Yeah.
right on that.
Stick chuckers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude, that'd be really cool. I like that idea of challenge and event.
Do you guys feel like you could be up for your third challenge by say September of this year?
I would.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting into the fall like this, when
I
the
would try it
animals are
at
starting
least.
to
I
need
mean,
to be
man, it
killed.
would be.
I'm gonna micturate real quick, guys.
Okay, you do it.
I've been
Alright.
journeying.
I think it would be super fun, if anything else. Like I might, die trying, but
We could do
January was pretty hard.
the preliminary challenge. I think could be pretty fun.
Yeah.
I was picturing the laps to be the actual circuit you execute before shooting the arrows. I was picturing it to be kind of like a couple miles. So I don't know if that's too aggressive for what you were thinking. But that's
like
kind
a
of
lap a couple miles.
Yeah, like the lap you complete is a couple miles long. Then
Well,
you
on
then
a
you
bike, I don't think that's that far.
Okay.
Like
And
if
then
it was running, I'd be like, okay,
Ugh.
okay, dude,
Ugh.
like that's
yeah, it's a bit much. We should look up the biathlon distances though.
My uncle just texted me and he said, so I'm watching your show and it's about mental health and you're talking about going out and shooting guns and arrows. Really good point, Gary.
What?
Really, really good point. Yeah, that actually is a topic that's come up, is like around mental health and whether or not, I think it's in Oregon now, like your family can report you and you can lose your ability to own a firearm.
I think you're right.
I think there's some definite holes in that thought, but I don't think it's a bad thought.
What happened?
I'm
back, guys.
We're bringing it back to mental health, actually.
My
nice.
my uncle
Shooting
texted the one who's texted before, and he said, so I'm watching your show and it's about mental health, and you're talking about going out and shooting guns and arrows.
Yeah, it's about multiple things.
Yeah, we talk about a lot of different things, Gary. You know that. But then it brought up I was thinking, I think in Oregon they passed a law that like your family members or spouse or whatever can report that you have mental health issues, and your ability to own a firearm can be taken away
Based on that report.
As
opposed to based on an investigation, like they'll take it at face value.
That I don't know.
Yeah, I think there has to be some query into
there was a case that my
but I think actually that's not a terrible idea.
No, I don't think it's a terrible idea.
Because
I think
look
that
at the Las Vegas shooting.
I think it could be
Right.
abused or something like that.
Okay.
But, well, hang on.
Because there's a lot I want to say about that.
So there was a case that came up actually that a coworker was telling me about, where a guy, his spouse or ex or whatever had when they can't come around, the restraining order on him, but knew that, and it was because of some abuse, but it didn't specify what that abuse was, so whether or not he hit her or it was verbal or whatever, but there was a restraining order in place, and she went into his house because she had a key when he was not there and took the guns, and she ended up getting arrested because of felony burglary with a weapon, now that she's possessing the weapon.
B&E, yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
breaking and entering first off. And then, but because it was a firearm that she took, now it's with a weapon.
So essentially it wasn't her place to go take his...
she took the law into her own hands. Yeah.
Yeah, and I understand the reasons why she would take something, because she'd have concern that it could be used against her, perhaps. Like, I'm assuming that's her concern. But... I mean, basically, it's his property. So if she went in and stole his TV, it essentially property is property, whether or not. I mean, you could say the same thing. She went and stole a chainsaw. Like, yeah, he could use a chainsaw against her too, I guess. But obviously, property is property, I guess.
It also begs the question, though, how scared she must have been that she would have been perhaps driven to do something like that.
Or she was the crazy one. You just don't know.
Or she's like false claims.
Yeah, I was going to say, we don't know. Right. We don't know a lot about it. It was just an interesting story that it came about because of that mental health stuff.
Dude, so let's talk about
go for it.
Mental health and gun ownership. Okay?
Great.
Yeah.
So if you look at firearm possession,
gun means something different
in the family, and the individuals that have committed recent, mass murders, I guess, like school shootings, theater shootings, all these different kinds of massacres, bar shootings, whatever, and the Vegas shooting, a significant proportion of I was reading about this, and I'll have to try to find the article to post for you guys. A majority, if not all of them, I think there's maybe one or two that weren't, but almost all of them were on some type of either SSRI, so antidepressant medication, something that was altering their brain chemistry.
Right.
And maybe to...
What does SSRI stand for?
Selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor.
All right.
I
knew he would know.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
But
I was wondering the other day.
I was going with the antidepressant.
It is an antidepressant, yeah. So I should have just said antidepressant, I guess.
It's cool. You can sound smart if you want.
But I don't always want to.
Okay. You don't always.
More often than not, right? But the question begs: A, is it chicken or the duck? Chicken or the duck? Chicken or the egg?
Chicken or the egg.
I didn't sound smart there.
I picked duck.
I didn't sound smart there.
Goose.
I almost feel like maybe if somebody has to be on medications that affect your psyche chronically, does that preclude you perhaps from owning weapons of mass destruction?
Bombs? Missiles?
That's a debate, because obviously that's a huge, constitutional debate. Does that, mean you shouldn't carry weapons and have the ability to kill large amounts of people? Because here's the thing. There are laws that prevent you from carrying weapons. There's certain, if you have commit a felony, if you do certain things. So if you have severe depression, or there's certain conditions that lead you to being more likely to either harm yourself or other people, should we just preemptively say that maybe is some reason valid for you not to carry rifles or guns? What do you guys think?
It's a tough issue.
What do you think? What do you guys think?
The circles I run in professionally,
Yeah.
it's an easy answer, and the answer is yes, that those people should be
restricted
in some manner, some way, shape, or form. That unfortunately creates loads and loads of bureaucracy, and how do you enforce that?
I think that's where it is. It's like,
but we're in a day and age where there's so many people.
There's so many that are on antidepressants right now. Yeah. And
I would rather that than just a blanket. Everyone has their firearms taken away. I don't.
Of course, yeah.
But I think it, just like we were talking about, like House Bill 2020 last week.
Yeah.
Not to bring that exact topic up
HB
again.
2020.
But when it's general black white and there aren't any like checks and balances and stuff, that's where that seems like kind of a slippery slope. It's like if someone reports, say you're a good friend and you report that I have mental health issues, or something. I think if someone is on those things, I guess I think
it gets to the point where if you are required to take these medications to maintain life, then I think that is an okay thing to recognize that the society to recognize that this might not be the best type of person to carry a lethal weapon.
For sure carry. I would say keep on person, yes, especially like in states where you don't have to have a license to even do that. It's a general law that anyone can conceal carry. I guess where my fear would be, and I would say this about a lot of different laws, is it can't be a blanket, everything's done with no way of returning. So say you went through a bout of it.
Sure.
Then that's where the bureaucracy would come in. It's like, where do they go? Because sometimes there's firearms who are in the family. You don't want the state to just take possession of those.
So here's where I kind of think the answer could come from, and this is a hard thing, and the practitioner or the counselor or whomever would feel a lot of weight and responsibility, and I think that they themselves have to be able to have some type of protection from lawsuits.
Yeah.
Whether the individual, like the patient?
No, the practitioner, the
clinician
that decides whether or not they have the mental stability to have firearms. I think they themselves need to. I think you have to, before you can possess.
That's a dangerous thing to. You can't have your guns anymore. Oh, you'll take this then.
Well, no.
Right.
No, I think to get a gun, you have to go to a psychiatrist or some type of mental health provider and say, yes, I do believe this person is stable.
It's part of the background check?
Part of the background check to be able to get a weapon. And then they'll say, hey, let's look at your medications. Let's look at let's talk.
I think
if
up front, that's a little bit.
I don't know, man. I think we need an extreme answer because we have extreme disparities.
I think that's coming down the pipe.
I think that will come down the pipe. I do think I think it is a little bit extreme.
I think we need extreme.
But I don't know if that's the only answer, though.
Here's a thought that I just had, because
it's a good one.
Kind of a new thing. Would it force those who perhaps need medication, who are perhaps seeking some kind of psychiatric intervention, to then not? So they kind of put their head in the sand, and then we develop.
Yeah, we're back to the do you show your struggles?
Right. Right.
I think here's the deal: if we implemented a national education emphasis on emotional and mental health and education and self-awareness,
it would probably come out.
It would in the end it would have a positive effect.
That's kind of where I was at. Right. It's like if you were to make it like a blanket extreme thing just around firearms, that's where I was going to say, it's like I don't think the firearms are what our problem is. I think our problem is, as a country, we're not focusing on the mental health,
and emotional health.
And I would include that in there. Like, as you were saying, as we were talking through all these things, I was thinking, and I can't remember what podcast I was listening to, where it was like, it asked you to like sit down and actually like explain your current feelings on different things. And I thought about that. I was like, I would consider myself fairly stable most of the time. And I don't know that I could do that very quickly. Explain my emotion.
Right. And
or put a finger on it. You're like, it's like, and then in my head I was thinking, what about a kid? Like a kid expresses their emotion by, you have a 3-year-old. Like they make sounds, and that's the only way they know how, because they don't know how to verbalize what it is. Even as an adult, do you know how to pinpoint?
I think we've done a disservice, and I think the significant majority of adults should be able to, if they had the training to do so. But
I mean very quickly is what I mean. Like I probably could over time, but I'm like, I don't know how good at it I would be.
Right. And
Does
that's
that
fair.
make sense?
I don't think there's like you have to be an expert at it, but I think there has to be some.
No, it was just a thought that I had. It was
Yeah.
like, oh, that would probably be a challenging exercise for me.
Which is good.
Yeah.
If you take it back to our childhood, when we grew up going in high school, going to health classes or whatever, I know some of us are homeschooled, but receiving that kind of curriculum, like we have been successful as a society in addressing things like smoking is bad for you, drinking
Sex
too much
ed.
is bad for you, sex ed, like abstinence, all that. Like those are things that have been effective. So if mental health component is rolled into those curriculum, I think that would give us a mechanism to more accurately identify.
What if they taught meditation? I thought about this today.
That'd be awesome. And yoga.
I actually just thought about
I'm
that
gonna
too.
like
I was
that,
like,
actually.
it's like, wait, what if like in addition to this, we replaced it with a little bit of something else? Like, what if we did like,
What do we like?
like in the place of like social media
Incense.
at night or in the morning, like we had to do
Right.
like 5 or 10 minutes of meditation instead.
Right.
He has thoughts.
Sorry, guys, forgot to light the incense here.
Yeah.
A little late.
Right as we get to the end.
I've been feeling really pent up and anxious this whole time. I think this is why.
Listen,
Ooh,
you
is
guys
this a
just need to
stick?
chill. This is
Guys,
the
this is
stick
a French
incense.
fry.
My brother in San Francisco gave me this stick, and it is a very
What does this contain?
it's for some type of tree. I don't know, like acacia tree or something. But
Acacia.
it has an amazing scent.
Wait, hang on.
I have no idea what type of.
Okay, I was
wood
gonna
it
say,
is. I'll
doesn't
just be-
acacia when it burns like have like a DMT effect? Or?
Oh yeah, that's right. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So get ready, guys.
Yeah.
We're going on a journey.
What's DMT? Sorry.
DMT is one of the most potent psychedelic chemicals.
Speaking of PTSD, it's one that.
that we have neurotransmitter receptors.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
I like it. It's kind of like a campfire.
Yeah.
Whoa, it is like all over in here now. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's just to be really clear, it's just incense, folks.
So maybe,
Maybe.
So
It's my first time.
Are my ears supposed to be ringing already?
do you guys have like a tunnel effect happening right now? So getting back onto the chicken or the egg thing, because I keep wanting to say that.
What you meant to say was the chicken or the duck.
Chicken or the duck thing. The question is a lot of these mass murders taking place because they're on those antidepressant medications, or is it because of their already pre-existing mental health issues? So the question then is should we, if you have those mental health issues, should you avoid gun ownership? Or if you're on those medications, should you avoid gun ownership? Or is it just the combination of the two, perhaps? Probably.
I think it's a tough question either way, because you're getting into people's health records, and that to me is kind of a slippery slope of
but as much like you would when you qualify someone to be a driver.
Right. So there's a lot
but it
of
doesn't go to
there's a lot of health
records.
Yeah, I mean, so like if someone has seizure history, seizure activity, you get your license is suspended. There are medical conditions that preclude you from being able to have a license.
Yeah.
Or have it taken away, which is valid. Like they're for the good of the public. It's more than anything.
I heard a really weird like mental practice, and I was trying to think of something that would fit this, and I think that this does. And it was from a guy, I don't remember what his expertise was, but he said that he was quoting someone else really smart, and I don't know again who it was, but it was someone from way back when that said if you create a system to really test it, hand control of it over to your enemy.
Wow.
Ooh, what does that mean? Let me think about that.
So if you were to create this system where, you know, if you're on these drugs and you have these mental issues, and those were all the rules, and your enemy didn't like create new rules or whatever, but they had control over that system.
Implementing it on you.
Implementing it. How does that make you feel? And they're like, that's a good way to like mentally test something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like healthcare. Give healthcare and all the rules revolving around it over to your enemy and let them control.
But
that
wouldn't
realm.
they want to make the least effective thing for you?
Or they would abuse it. That's
Right.
where it's kind of finding
So
the
I don't understand
holes.
why that
Finding
would
the
be.
holes in the system is what it would do for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So worst case scenario type.
And it's a protectant to you too, because if you're creating these laws for mass amounts of people and you're thinking this is going to be a really good thing, all of a sudden when you you take the control away from yourself and you hand it to your enemy to now implement on you, what are the things that you start to see in that system?
I like that. So it's
break
basically
down?
showing the flaws, or
where you would feel the lack of control because you're feeling controlling. A lot of times I think that's where I feel a lot of the angst when it comes to these laws is I feel like control is being taken away and choice is being taken away from me and being just implemented on me. And those people think they're doing it most of the time with good intentions, and I have to respect that, but they aren't seeing that from my perspective, and to see it from my perspective they would have to put it in the hands of their
So the
enemy.
ultimate role of the government is as a form of protection. Like that's like when it's boiled down to like the federal government.
It's more organization, but
No, I think it's to protect. Like there's organization that's formed within, you know, the states and but I think the ultimate role is to protect it from inside and outside threats to the country, to the people. So I think a form of mental health / gun control is something that I would be a proponent of and
at least exploring.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think you know societally too. The thing I've been wanting to say for a while here is just the sheer number of possibility or access that people who are of sound mind or not, their ability to have to gain access to lethal means is significant in our country, and that needs to be taken into consideration. And I'm not trying to step on people.
What's an example of lethal means outside of guns?
An actual gun.
Yeah, that you think that comes to your mind.
Pharmaceuticals?
Like
Are you
lethal
talking
means
about-
to themselves
Are you
or to
talking about
others?
To themselves or to others?
Both.
Yeah.
Both. But I mean,
Okay.
the most lethal is clearly is a gun, and that's what I'm referring.
Yeah.
That's what I'm referring.
It's
to.
actually.
But that is an
it's
interesting
one
thought.
of,
What other
it's one of
like?
the least effective.
Well, I don't know about that. I think it's far more
I
effective.
was looking
than
at
a lot of
like the
things.
survivability, especially like in Portland, because we have shockingly, we have like the greatest ability to fix someone that's been shot. And if you get shot with a handgun, you have like higher than a 90% survival rate
Wow.
in Portland.
If you're in Portland,
Near Portland,
Yeah.
like even here, like but if you're shot,
More
this
rural.
is what's really funny. So like that's a handgun, and that's
Okay.
what most of the time people are trying to like get rid of the
and
magazines
where you're shot.
and all that kind of stuff. But if you think about it, like if you get knifed, you're in the high 90% of death,
Wow.
and it's because
Seriously?
it's so deliberate, and someone has to follow through.
And
So with a handgun, it's
yeah.
just like, okay, I'm over here, I'm angry, I'm feeling my emotions, and I'm taking my emotions out.
Sure.
But if you're shot with a hunting rifle, it's like a 2% chance of survival.
Yeah,
Wow.
or an assault rifle maybe.
No.
I
No,
wonder
no,
what the chance of survival
Hunting
is.
rifle.
Right, but I wonder what the chance of survival with assault rifle is.
Most assault rifles actually aren't that deadly. They're not designed. They're designed to go through and wound you. That's like most rounds that are shot through an assault rifle. Like, because think about this in war. What's the best thing that you can do? It's not kill the other person. This sounds really morbid.
wound them.
It's wound them so
Yeah.
that they're creating distractions for other people.
Yeah.
So the bullets that are most often shot out of an assault rifle are a full metal jacket. They do not expand, and they will pop right through you.
Yeah.
And it just creates a bunch of wounded soldiers.
Yeah.
So then they have to be taken care of.
Hmm.
And so like
And you're saying a hunting rifle, I don't know anything about guns, so you're saying a hunting rifle is designed where the round does expand within the body, creating more damage.
yeah. And
that
it's more
person's-
deliberate because you're usually looking through a scope. You're having to think about
Target.
that and to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Like it's yeah. It's funny. I mean, there's like published stuff on it though in Portland.
Yeah.
I was like shocking. I was like, hey, if you're gonna get shot, do it in Portland.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But don't get knifed because pretty much anywhere you're dead.
Yeah, well, and the size of the wound is usually larger.
It goes
as well
to
with
the
a knife.
intent though, and that's where like if somebody's really trying to take it out, like that's where there's so many people are creative. If they're gonna be, it's sad, but when people are gonna be violent, like they'll go to whatever means.
Yeah.
It's them showing their emotion and not knowing how to show their emotion. It's really
Yeah.
sad, and I think that ultimately, like when it comes down to the mental health stuff, like it has very little. Like the gun debate isn't actually what we're talking about. It's how do we approach mental health, because how many other things are, those people taking their own lives.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you guys being willing to talk about it here in this platform, because I think education is such an important thing.
Yeah.
I mean, as a kid and even now as an adult, I feel like in my own like perception of reality that like for me to go to someone else and talk about my feelings and emotions,
Right.
is there is still stigma attached to it even for me.
Oh, absolutely.
And yet I live in that profession. So the more we can encourage people to actually seek professional help, or even non-professional, just like talking to someone about the better.
Which
That
is cool,
needs to
like
happen.
with what you're doing is bringing it into community, because everything that I've read, like I was reading a study a while back, I don't even know if I could find it anymore, but it was like looking at addiction. And they put, it was mice, and they got them addicted to something, and if they left them alone, they would constantly go back. But if they put them, the addicted mouse in, and they chose between community and the substance, they typically would pick community.
That's awesome.
And that, like, so then it was like that, it was talking about like basically like how we cordon off people into prisons, and how that doesn't solve the problem. Now, some people just need to be, there's definite issues and they need to be locked away, but there's some people that like they need community, they need to be brought back in somehow. That's where with the mental health stuff, like it doesn't need to be a one and done answer. And I think that's where a lot of people get scared, and they think, oh well, then if I fall into that category ever, I'm done, and this is something that I love and that I enjoy. And maybe I don't want to ever hurt anyone, but it is something that I enjoy. I want to ride a bike and shoot a gun. And
it sounds pretty entertaining to me.
Yeah,
I gotta be honest with you. It could, the other thought could be, this might appeal to a larger group of people.
So going back to the bikeathlon?
Yeah, going back to the bikeathlon. I feel like we could work on that name a little bit, but I think
it's amazing
doing biking with paintball.
Oh,
so you have a paintball gun, and each rider has their own color of paintball, and their target, they have to
each other.
Gosh. But it could be
get dangerous.
It could be
real fast.
paintball hitting a target.
Yeah.
Because that'd be
from the bike.
Not while moving, but maybe you have to stay on the bike.
Maybe some of the targets are
well, again, going back to biathlon, you think about it, they have standing, kneeling, prone.
True.
So you have three
That's
disciplines,
true.
right? So you could do the same thing. Like you do the ride by shot, then you could do like the standing shot.
Ride by. Going back to the gun debate,
Right?
is that what happens in Corvallis? Like nobody drives because that's bad for the environment.
Exactly.
We do ride
We
bys.
do ride bys.
That's funny.
I just wave.
Oh man.
Shoot, dang. Dude, I think that was mostly. I don't think I had any other specific like big articles I wanted to, or any subjects. I think that.
What was this? You posted the same thing
Uh-huh.
about the Tucker Carlson.
Oh yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, Tucker Carlson, who's this is actually an interesting topic. It's kind of not really mental health topic specifically, but
More like a kind of.
Tucker Carlson, he made a comment because recently Trump met with Kim Jong-un.
Just like today, right?
Yeah, today.
Okay.
Um,
Handshake.
He
They're like
crossed the
BFFs.
DMZ between South Korea and North Korea. Trump walked across the line. He was the first U.S. president to do
20
so.
steps. Or something.
20 some steps.
It's a lot of
And
steps.
Tucker Carlson had this conversation talking about this meeting, and
He's from Fox News. Is that where he's from?
no, yeah.
No, yeah.
No,
He is.
But he made a comment during this interview, and he was saying that leading a country, and this is paraphrasing, not paraphrasing. He literally said this, but it's taking it, a small tip
Yeah, it is
part of the conversation.
Yeah, I read the article.
He said, leading a country means killing people. And that's such an interesting thing because obviously we're diluting it way down what he said.
Well,
Actually, let me see if I can find what he said in whole.
Yeah,
because
the article,
okay, here it is.
I originally clicked on it because
He's
it
like,
said he defended North Korea
well,
by saying,
which was kind of not really,
which is not true at all.
He said
didn't
it's
say
disgusting.
That.
It's a disgusting place, obviously. So there's no defending it. And he's referring to the North Korea, how they treat the people.
Right.
On the other hand, you know what? You've got to be honest about what it means to lead a country. It means killing people. Not on the scale North Koreans do, but a lot of countries commit atrocities, including the number that we're closely allied with, which is so true.
Yeah.
Thinking about was it United Arab UAE, United Arab Emirates. Or some of the Venezuelan, people that we ally with, or some of the, other Middle Eastern countries. It's true. And obviously the U.S., we're one of the largest, in my mind, imperialistic countries, probably the main one. And we kill tons of people every year. And this is going on a totally different subject, but
with guns.
With drones, probably more likely.
It's true.
But he's right. Like,
if they don't get shot down by Iran,
we kill a lot. We kill a lot of people. Every country does. But does being a leader? Do you have to be
a killer?
A killer. What do you guys think?
I think being a leader means you have the
power to do so,
and the mental and emotional fortitude to make hard decisions. I don't think it necessarily means you have to kill people.
Yeah. Well, because you look at other countries. Look at Sweden. Look at Switzerland. Prosperous countries. They're not really known for their murders. They're not trying to make their presence known in other countries to the extent that we do.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother topic. But I really don't like how the U.S. has so much.
I think it's because they're so they're older cultures and they're more homogeneous. Like they have much more of a centralized cultural identity that allows them to maintain some aloofness. Some barriers between.
Yeah, but
and we have been, like, our country was created by and has perpetuated in being so incredibly diverse, which is why we have these huge arguments and conversations all the time, because we're so heterogeneous. Like there's so
and
many,
we're spread out, and I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. There's been a lot to defend.
We have a lot to defend, but we're also, I think what it boils down to is we are trying to capitalize on resources in other countries. And there's no reason for us to be in Iran right now. And basically, I think it's like, so they make this big deal about how Iran had, kind of attacked certain ships that were and then
the drone,
whatever that sea is, south of Iran, and the U.S. is basically like, I feel like we're kind of being a bully. Like, we're there for resources and we're there to have control over shipping lanes and different things, but really, like, we're poking these countries, and they're not. This is not our territory. This is not our property. The world is not ours, but we're doing it out of a way of having control. And I think that's. There's a lot of people that have different feelings about this, obviously.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a little bit of perception too, because going back to social media, like, it is what it's what we see, and whether or not you see it on the news or you see it on your Facebook feed, not this week apparently, but then that's kind of your tiny peek into the world.
Yeah, and
we don't know. I'm not saying I don't agree with you. I'm just saying there's probably a lot of things we don't know.
Yeah, what is it a libertarian perspective to say we should not be involving ourselves in the rest of the world?
I think that's one of them.
No, but there's some type of specific view where it's like
isolationist.
Yeah, I would say
and more nationalistic.
Isolationist probably is more
accurate.
Probably, but that's an interesting topic that we could go for a long time in, but I don't know if we should tonight.
I don't know that we have the expertise to.
We'd need to do more research, I think.
Like a lot of research to talk about that, or just have a historian on, or somebody.
What makes it difficult to do in like today is that our ability to discern right from wrong when it comes to, like, a country invading another, like, it doesn't happen that way anymore.
Right.
Necessarily.
Right.
It's more. There are more economic factors, and it's more small little bits and pieces of people moving around that then instigate these larger conflicts or more publicized shootings or whatever.
Yeah, because by the time we hear anything, is that really what it's about? Like,
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
Like, I have to assume there's probably more that happened before that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if Iran shot down this drone, that's probably not the first thing that's been done.
Right.
It's just the first thing that we've heard about.
And we're probably not hearing about all the reasons why they shot down the drone. Like, how would the U.S. feel?
Or what they did before that. That's
Right.
what I'm saying. Like,
but how would the U.S. feel if Iran was flying a drone around our country?
yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously,
Well, and that's where, like, if you could
Yeah.
speculate, maybe they did. Like, and maybe that's why it was there. Or
the
like,
U.S. government would release something about that for sure.
maybe they wouldn't.
Why wouldn't? Maybe.
I mean,
It
it
doesn't
would
make
show
sense.
lack of control. Like we didn't have control over our skies.
Right, yeah, it kind of goes back to the whole showing shame thing.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
maybe they wouldn't because they want us to know that they don't have control over that. Or, I don't know.
Yeah.
And again, that's all just speculation, but it's just, what we see by the time it hits the news, and you read, like, one news article and it's different on the other one, it's like, you don't know. Like, do I think we should know? Maybe. But I don't think we do. Without being there, like, it's really hard to make the call. Like if that's all the information, then I could make a judgment, my opinion, judgment call.
Right.
It
It takes a certain degree of faith.
For sure.
It's interesting.
Yeah. For anything.
Yeah.
Dude.
There was something I was thinking about on that. Like, we talked about it with Joe, like the belief, like you don't
believe in science.
No, just like how you're like, you'd think someone was crazy for thinking the world is flat, but you don't know the math to prove them wrong.
Round.
And so you're going based off of,
That is a form of faith.
It is.
Right.
Yeah, and it's kind of goes back to the community and who do we trust and all that. But I don't remember where I was going with that. But I had a thought about it earlier today, and I was like, ooh, that would be good to talk about. And that's as far as I
Well, we could do it
remember.
next week if you remember it.
I probably won't.
When you guys read about like current events and stuff, do you read multiple sources? Like what's your
Usually.
Yeah.
try your best to anyway?
Dude, I really wish I had a good, just straight down the line news source, but I just haven't found something that's that consistent. Like, I mean, obviously there's Fox News and there's CNN that seems to be at the extreme. The Guardian's kind of one that's kind of more liberal a little bit. Washington Post. But yeah, I haven't found anything that's like extremely just non-biased. And that's because few people themselves these days are non-biased in most subjects. But
my dad introduced me to The Economist, which is, I think, mostly written. But anyways, they have interesting articles I've read here and there, not very frequently. And there's like somewhat right-leaning. Anyway.
Yeah. But they're pretty good. They're pretty good stuff.
I think so.
Yeah.
BBC. I like reading the BBC.
I like. It's not really for news in particular, but it's just for more information, and just kind of current topics. I like Dig. I use Dig quite a bit, and that's kind of like, it just brings up current events and brings up kind of fun, unique articles that aren't necessarily, you wouldn't find it on Yahoo, typically.
It's like both Dig and Reddit. It's an interesting world because you have to, like, the thing about that, most people statistically just read the headline on Facebook, and that's the one that they get. And what they don't understand is that Facebook's algorithm will feed them the things that they've interacted with. So if they liked that article, they're going to get more like that, and they end up creating this echo chamber, and they're only trying to get you to click because Facebook's main resource is you. And if they can get you to interact, it doesn't matter if it's negative or positive, but statistically speaking, if you are negatively impacted, you respond more. And so they will try to get you unhappy.
This is totally speaking to so Sarah has had a negative interaction with Facebook just in the last 24 hours or
so. It's
on this very thing. And
and so when you interact with it, like I was watching, or I was like reading up on Brexit a few weeks ago, and they had video of and were interviewed different people that had these ads, and it was like the 1%, like it was a very, very slim vote that voted that in.
Right.
And they took people's Facebook feeds that would have fit that 1% of swaying the vote one way or the other, and they had false ads of a street, like pictures saying that immigrants are going to come take your jobs. It's going to make things dirty.
Really?
And they had pictures of a street that were not the same one. Like it wasn't right. And it was like these ads that were just fed to that like 1% of people that swayed them. They're like, oh, okay, well then I'll vote this way. And that they've almost pinpointed that those types of swaying is going to do it. And when people figure out that, or when governments figure out that the next president and the next leaders are literally being picked by social media websites by swaying people's emotions, going to emotions and expressing your emotions and how you respond to things and everything. I don't know what's going to happen, but this thing that we call the internet. I mean, like I read a shower thought this week, and I did not actually put it in my shower thoughts. That was that Wikipedia is what was intended to be the internet.
Oh, that's cool.
And so we weren't ready for this. We weren't ready to be inundated with notifications, with news articles that are just clickbait. And not clickbait's not even a good term anymore, because most people don't click on them. They'll just click like and flick on. They don't actually go read the article, because a lot of times, like the articles that I see posted by even people that I know and respect, that article doesn't even say what that title said. Like, because I get curious. I'm like, well, I'll look at that.
So going into your fasting from social media here, like, do you guys have, like, what's your moral compass tell you as far as what you post these days? Like, do you post things that are unique to you now, and you don't like repost things? You don't like post articles? You don't like?
I often don't share.
What's your rubric?
Most of the time, it's just about me. Like I won't post a lot of articles. The last thing I responded to was somebody that actually posted something that was fake, and I said, "This is just fear mongering." And I responded to it like that, and they got upset, and I said,
I almost never have any social media
presence
outside of. I mean, I'm more of a looker than I am a commentator.
That's kind of where I've been for the last 6 to 9 months or so.
But I don't block people. This is what's interesting is like when the whole election came up last time, people were getting so annoyed. They're like, well, I'm going to unfriend that person. I'm going to block that person. I don't want to see what that person's doing. Hide that person from my feed. I had the opposite effect or reaction. I said, I don't want to block anyone because I want to see everything. And this is what I was going to get into with the Reddit and Dig, and why I like some of those sites is that, are you trying to tell me something?
Oh, I got an itch.
Oh, okay. It's like, do I have a tick?
That's
funny. Is that a signal?
I didn't realize that. I was like listening to you.
My
face is like.
Is your pulse not going anymore? Do you need CPR?
I need some help.
Yeah.
So Dig though, you're saying.
Yeah. So Dig and Reddit, like what I will do before I even read the article, is I will scroll through and get a general tone of what the people are saying. Not because I necessarily care or think that they're factual, but because. And this is what machine learning does, and I didn't really realize this, that I even did this, is like I will get the general tone of what people are saying and whether or not they're angry, whether or not they're like blatantly buying into it, or whether or not they're being sarcastic. And I take all that information, they're just their reactions first, and kind of form a who's surrounding this, because those are the kind of people that I maybe would or would not want to know their opinion, and then I can dig deeper into what they've said about it. And a lot of times those people will have link outs to different articles.
Wait, you do that before you read the article?
Generally.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to waste my time on the article if I don't see the general tone headed the direction of sane people.
That's interesting. I take the opposite effect, because if I purposely avoid comments before I look at an article.
Sometimes I do that too.
Because I don't want to have someone else's opinion before I form my own.
I'm not looking for their opinion.
Or their thoughts even. Like I don't want to be influenced by their
But I'm not even looking
drama.
for their thoughts or I'm looking for the tone.
Yeah.
And so if people are very, very argumentative over it,
then it might be a good article.
No. I immediately think this article is trying to get their emotions ramped.
Or maybe it's such a serious subject that people have.
But it's one of
feelings.
those. It's one of those two options usually.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like I immediately now know. Okay, when I read this, what am I looking for? What set them off? And if it's lame or whatever, that's generally how I will look at it and figure out. And a lot of those people, that the sane ones are the ones that you go look for, that will have like a really then I'll go look for the in-depth opinions in the write-ups, and like, well, this is just a repost of such and such as a website or something like that. And those are the sane people to kind of look for in the midst of it. But I rarely read Facebook stuff.
I don't know much about it, so I don't want to go too bring it up as if I do and was prepared, but one of the Pod Save America podcasts I listened to recently, those guys who are all former Obama era White House staff, the hosts of that podcast, they were talking about the Obama Trump voters, talking about the 1% of Brexit voters. You know, these they're talking about those are the voters who we need to figure out how they're going to vote in the next election.
Yeah.
Those who voted for Obama's second term, and then those who then voted for Trump in his first term.
Yeah.
And figuring out who they are, what makes them tick.
Why they voted for Obama and then Trump.
Right.
That is an interesting.
Super interesting question.
I think,
regardless of our opinions about it,
yeah.
I think that's super interesting that they have identified a population that did that.
Yeah. I think it was similar, like you said earlier, the pendulum swing of people going from don't show your emotions to now show your emotions. I think that we are a reactionary people, and instead of like thinking through what we do, so my reaction, someone's reaction, you go back to trauma and mental health, is like if someone does something to me, my pendulum swing reaction is don't trust anybody. Not it, which the reaction should be, who should I trust? It's not it, but our defense mechanism is to go to don't trust a dang person because everyone's trying to hurt me.
Right.
And I get why people would do that, and I understand in mental health why they do that, but they do it in politics too, and we'll see it again in 2020.
Yeah, 2020 will be interesting, man. I'm excited to see the drama.
The debate,
is excited your feeling word for that?
Yeah, for me.
The debates have so far been interesting.
we
were talking about that before we started live. Which night? Did you watch both nights or did you just watch one?
No. I watched like minutes of it while I was at work. I had it playing in the background.
Oh, that's right. You were working.
Yeah.
I watched most of the second night. I didn't watch any of the first night.
I've watched neither. Sorry. I'll just say.
Yeah. It's honestly, it's a show. It's like who can put on the best show
It's
to
not
win.
debates. They shouldn't call them debates. They should call it, I want to talk longer than you told me that I could, and I'm going to interrupt that guy.
Well, okay.
It's a really long name, but it's way better than debates.
Here's what needs to happen.
Debates are actually interesting.
Here's what needs to happen. Whoever in society today is one of the best interviewers needs to have each candidate. And the problem is that you can't have hundreds of people do this, so it needs to be boiled down to like maybe the top 10 candidates.
Well, right now it's just 20.
Well, I'd say that once it boils down to like the top 10 candidates,
this next one will be top
from
10,
each party. Need to sit down with whoever is a really good interviewer and have a 3-hour interview.
Per candidate?
Per candidate limit.
Wow.
And you can talk to them, or this person will talk to them, have long form conversation, that it's not a show, and it's explaining how they think, it's explaining why they are running, and it kind of goes into depth, so it's not something where you have 20 seconds to respond and not have a cohesive thought process
and no rebuttals, right? It's like one-on-one, like
it's like one-on-one conversation, and I think that would be a way more healthy and realistic kind of impression of who this dude or girl is.
I don't understand why they don't cut off the mics. Like those people will keep talking like
or like a trap door.
It's like you have 45 seconds. They know that going into it, and they say absolute crap for 50 seconds, and then say something that's
to address the question at the very end.
Yeah.
They rarely address the question too.
It's like that's not a debate at all. They should just have a buzzer goes, you lose. Sorry, you didn't even address that.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah,
I would love that.
Yeah.
That'd be a great idea.
Good.
That's a great idea.
Or just
like
turn their mic off.
Cattle prod too. They get.
They're like, oh. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they all have to wear shock collars, and they get zapped.
That would be really. Oh, that'd be so healthy. Speaking of mental health, that'd be so healthy for them.
Shock collars for the candidate.
Shock therapy, right?
I wonder how many of them have mental health problems.
Dude, we're getting close to 2 hours. I think we should throw some shower thoughts here.
Some shower thoughts.
Yeah. Dude, thank you so much, man. It's been
welcome.
a blast having you on, man. It's been super good conversations.
Anything you feel like we didn't cover that you'd want to cover?
No. It's been great.
Right on.
We've gone all over the place.
Right on.
But you held on. You held on
did.
for the ride.
I was a little nervous about the when we talked about guns, but other than that, we've been. Whew. Yeah.
So talking about the world and time and all these interesting topics, my first shower thought throws out here history, and as time goes on, history classes, they're going to become longer and more complex over time. It's such a funny concept. Like history classes, they're just going to perpetually become more complex
and less true.
Get worse.
And have more more confusion. Yeah. So that's just an interesting thought I had. What do you-
Cancer is a group of individuals in a closed environment reproducing and taking resources without giving back to the system.
Oh my
Either
gosh.
kills off its environment or the environment kills it,
Oh my gosh.
often with radiation.
Oh my gosh.
Sure is a hot one outside today.
Oh my gosh. Hashtag we are cancer to the earth. Right? That's what you're saying. If we colonize Mars in a couple generations / centuries, some people will start to think that Mars is flat.
Remember when we lived on Earth and it was round?
We lived on that round Earth. We're totally on flat Mars, man.
it's so
flat
here.
Marser.
I wonder how long it would take. How big is Mars? It's just way smaller.
I don't know if it's way smaller. I think it's like 2/3.
How long do you
the size
think it
of
would
Earth.
take Jeremy to ride around
Oh,
Mars?
gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Figure
Probably.
do the math on that.
Yeah.
How much gravity is there?
I think it's like 2/3.
Okay.
Yeah, it is 2/3.
Okay.
You weren't picked last. You just weren't picked. You joined the second team by default.
It's true. I like that. It's sad, but it's true. We live basically thanks to oxygen created by trees and from water, obviously. But what's funny is we use those two items to clean our asses. We live because of those things, but then we use them to wipe. Or
it's so
bidet.
If you date a homeless person, then you can drop them off anywhere.
I had that one too. I love that. Yes, it's so funny. Yep, it's true. That's funny. If we are in a simulation, the people that are running the simulation were probably like super freaked out when the Matrix movie came out.
Or what was the movie? Oh, I can't think of it. There was another one that came out that was got overshadowed by the Matrix, and it was really good. My dad's probably going, "It's this."
Oh,
I don't remember what it was.
like it was like a simulation
It was
kind of concept.
very, very similar. Yeah,
Ooh, I want to see that.
and it was pretty good. I think it was called The 13th Floor. Yeah, I'm pretty
Contemporary with the first Matrix?
confident. It came out like right around the same time,
I didn't
and
know.
it was good. It wasn't as big a budget, but it was pretty good. Naming a bird Talon is like naming a human Toenail.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Or fingernail. Hey, fingernail, come here, man.
I do know a kid named Talon. It's a pretty rad name.
Okay, so since our bodies are made up of pre-existing particles, right? So everything like we are made of is from matter that's already been around.
Blown up stars.
Yeah, matter's neither created nor destroyed. Technically, we were here during the Earth's creation, and technically, we will be here and witness the end of the world.
Sweet.
It's cool. It's kind of basic, but
Yeah.
cool.
The night before a day off is more satisfying than the actual day off.
Yes.
So true. Wait, yeah, like after you finished work,
Yep.
and then you're like, yes, it's so true.
So
Yeah.
true.
Because you have that peace of knowing I don't have to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
I have that
Christmas Eve is always better than Christmas Day, right?
Yeah.
The anticipation of.
anticipation. Yeah, it's like 60% of the excitement.
Of the gain.
Yeah,
I like how you just like put that into a stat.
yeah.
You're like, I think it's about 6.
I think that's if I run the math. Let me calculate it. Carry the 2, divide the 3. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. That.
Yeah.
Um,
Move the decimal.
So this is the last shower thought that I have.
Okay.
The era of alcohol and tobacco essentially has been replaced by caffeine and cannabis.
Ooh. Illinois just legalized.
Caffeine.
Oh yeah, the
Cannabis.
state of Illinois recreational.
Yeah, I think so.
I think
yeah.
so, right? Yeah,
And Ireland just legalized medical.
Ireland.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of
Lucky
weird.
Charms.
That's
Yeah.
weird that they had to. I would feel like Europe is so much more progressive.
I don't think
know.
anywhere in Europe outside of Ireland and
They don't want to cut
Denmark?
into their whiskey market.
Amsterdam?
So
Got it.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm just guessing. I'm throwing stuff. I've never been to Ireland. They have 4-leaf clovers and whiskey.
You got any other ones, man?
I mean, I do, but I don't know if I'm like married to any of them.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough,
Yeah.
dude. Thank you again, Jeremy, for coming on, bro.
Yeah,
Appreciate it, man.
welcome.
Solid conversations.
Thanks for having
Everybody,
me.
thanks for your comments. Thanks for joining in. This week, Jordan and I are going to delete our apps for Facebook and Instagram. And
Ba-boom.
and we'll report to you next week how we feel about that, and then see if there's any other we want to ramp it up or see if it was difficult or not.
You never responded to my meditation thing.
Did you text me that?
No.
During the conversation.
It was during a conversation. But you were lighting your
Yeah, I was lighting my
your
form
French fry.
Like doing some meditation, you mean?
Yeah, in place of. I said, what about in place
Oh,
of?
yeah,
We do 5 minutes of meditation.
Yeah, I'd be down. Yeah. And we'll add a daily meditation. I do try to meditate. I haven't done it in a while. Jordan's very good at meditating compared to me. I think he's done it every day for the past...
very good at it.
Very good at it. Haven't you done it every day for the past year and a half or something?
I could tell you. I mark it down. I think it's 612 days.
Nice.
In a row, right?
Dang.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Back to back. 616. That's a total of 74,
When do you usually
74 hours.
When do you usually do your meditation?
It varies.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like to do it in the morning.
How do you feel about doing
been doing
it
that.
while driving?
I like it.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it wasn't good for me because I got really relaxed and then I got stressed while I was driving because of cars around me, and it felt like this weird pull on my emotions.
It's different. It's totally different. I would say probably. So there's been a few times we're starting the podcast up again.
I know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So hang on. There's been a few times that are in nature is the best.
Nature.
That's the coolest. I think I was telling you about.
Yeah.
I did it at the coast. I bundled up
Right,
and I
yeah.
did it on a log
Talked about last
on the
week.
coast facing the ocean. I found a spot that people wouldn't walk up and
Right.
sneak up on me because that's a big thing with me. And it was 20 minutes solid, almost complete silence. And then when I opened my eyes, I saw something out of the corner of my left eye, and I turned slowly to look, and it was this huge either eagle or something. I can't remember now. It's been a while. And I was like, whoa. And I mean, it was 2 arms length away from me. And when I moved to look at it, it saw me and took off. I don't know how long it'd been there.
Yeah.
Wow.
20 minutes, maybe.
So nature's the coolest. I
Nature.
did it on top of a hill a little while ago, and that's
cool.
it's super relaxing.
Yeah, I like that idea.
But walking is what I was going to say.
yeah. Ooh,
Doing
that's
it,
good.
Doing it walking is really cool. Even in the city, if you just throw headphones on,
Yeah.
throw some sound or whatever that helps you kind of focus.
That's true.
It's kind of trippy. The world seems way slower. But
All right. Well, guys, thanks for listening to Test to Normal. We appreciate it. Like us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Tell us what you do like.
we
Tell
won't
us what you
see
don't
it
like.
until
Yeah, we won't see it until
next
next week. But text us if you know us.
Think
give
of
us
the
your thoughts.
60% anticipation
Yeah, 60%
60%
anticipation. That's right.
until you see those
And
new likes. Oh,
yeah,
man.
we love y'all. Hope you all have a great week. Stay cool out there. Don't get too hot out
trying to
this
get the
crazy
controls for the
crazy
recording.
weather. And we'll think about this bikeathlon or whatever we're gonna call
Yes.
it.
Bacathlon.
Decathlon.
We'll
Ooh.
fiddle with that idea.
That's sounding way cooler now.
And
Bacathlon.
all right, guys, have a great week. We'll talk to you later. Test
See
you
you guys.
normal.
Love
Peace.
you.